Normally, I'm an advocate for MBA degrees. For a lot of folks, it's a good degree because it gives someone a well-rounded business education, and that's useful, especially for those that don't have any formal education or background in business. But earning a degree costs time and money. Truth is, an MBA isn't always going to make sense. In fact, sometimes it can be a horrible idea. That's why in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 reasons why you may want to pass on the idea of getting an MBA. So let's get to it. I've received so many questions from people on whether they should pursue an MBA degree after completing their undergraduate degree or only after having had 1 or 2 years of work experience. My response is almost always the same, which is no. With very few exceptions, it's usually not worth it. Reason is you'd be graduating from an MBA program with little to no work experience, and it's because of that you're not really that much more qualified than you were before the degree. Not only that, you're going to be competing with people that are getting their MBAs and also have work experience. And as of the recording of this video, which is summer of 2024, the job market is extremely competitive. For you to spend a lot of money on an MBA program to then only really be qualified for entry-level roles doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, you won't get as much of the learning out of the MBA as you could without having had the context of all those years of work experience. And with that, I normally recommend at least 5 years of work experience before pursuing an MBA degree. Now, if the MBA degree is going to cost money, then you should probably expect a good return on investment. And that return is in the form of a job that hopefully pays you a lot more than what you are making now. The best chance of that happening is not at a startup or a small company, but in working for a large company. In particular, pretty much any company that's in the Fortune 500. And that is simply a list of the 500 largest US companies based on revenue. Not surprisingly, companies of this size generally have had good enough financial success for a meaningful period of time to be the size that they are. On average, they're in a better position to compensate their employees well relative to a startup or a small company. Now, before I get all kinds of comments potentially disputing this, keep in mind this is a general statement. I'm talking about averages here. This is not going to be true 100% of the time for 100% of the jobs that are out there. For example, you could strike it big at a startup company that ends up being wildly successful. You get all these stock options, you make a ton of money. Statistically speaking, probably not likely, although you hear all the success stories in the media, you never hear about the failures. Now, on the flip side, with large companies, despite the compensation, many of those companies may not be a good fit for you for one reason or another. Salary isn't everything, but so long as you're spending a great sum of money to earn a degree, you want to give yourself the best chance of paying off that investment, especially if you took out a loan to get it, you have to pay that back. Now, what if you want to be an entrepreneur? Does it make sense to have an MBA? This is, in my opinion, probably the biggest waste of money. There's no better path to entrepreneurship than to just simply be an entrepreneur. Whatever business you want to start that you feel passionately enough about, you can find all the resources you could ever want online for either free or very little money. And of course, you can spend a little bit more money for professional help, but no MBA is going to teach you as much about building a business as simply trying to build your business. And that's failing and learning along the way. You have to keep in mind that an MBA curriculum is general business knowledge with the intent of making you well-rounded so that you would be eligible for many different types of jobs at larger companies with already established processes. You can more easily fit in there. Now, apart from the occasional MBA program that may have some specialization around entrepreneurship, you're really not going to find a whole lot of really actionable learnings from an MBA program, at least not in comparison to actually just doing the thing. As you discover what you need to do next, you can learn about it. Starting a business is an iterative process. process and you're learning along the way. Again, you're making mistakes, but you're learning as you need to learn. And all the education you need is really experience. If you invest in anything, don't let it be an MBA. Invest in your business to experiment and learn. All that said, while an MBA degree may not be that useful in these situations that I outlined, the content itself can actually be quite useful. Make sure to check out Coursera, one of my favorite online learning platforms that I've used for close to a decade. That is home to a ton of business courses like the ones you would actually find in an MBA program, like the one that I did through the University of Illinois. And I got a video that you can check out where I talk about Coursera and how it might be able to help you. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.